Hundreds, perhaps thousands of people, united by unwavering faith, follow in procession under the Indian sun in Bombay. The energy is contagious, the devotion palpable, when suddenly, the unthinkable happens. The ground trembles, the centuries-old structure shakes. Hundreds of lives plummet into a raging, dark, merciless river, swallowing screams, faith, and hope. A nightmare materializes before everyone, but it is there, in the depths of darkness and despair, that an undeniable miracle occurs, marking lives and revealing the power of Our Lady in such a surprising way. But before we dive into the details, leave the names of all the people in the comments right now, be they friends, relatives, or even those you know who need a light, so we can add each one to our main prayer with a rosary, asking for Our Lady's blessings and intercession upon their lives. Bombay pulsated with the fervor of one of the largest processions of Our Lady the city had seen that year. Streets were decorated with vibrant garlands of flowers, and incense filled the air, while chants echoed through narrow alleys and wide avenues, leading a tide of worshippers to the ancient Marian temple, the final destination of this journey of faith. Among the crowd walked Rakesh, a man in his 40s, whose presence there was more out of curiosity and, frankly, the chance to make good money selling trinkets and cold drinks to thirsty pilgrims, than any sense of devotion. Rakesh had always considered himself a practical man, disbelieving in miracles. For him, faith was a balm for the naive, an emotional crutch for those unable to face life as it truly was, hard and devoid of divine intervention. He watched the sea of people with a hint of disdain, admiring, yes, the energy, but unmoved by the spirituality that moved each of the faithful, unaware that his life would soon be linked to this same river of faith in a way he could never have imagined. The procession continued, and the route included crossing an ancient stone bridge, over a century old, that connected two parts of the city over the mighty Yamuna River, which had become even more unpredictable after the recent rains. Despite its historic beauty, the bridge bore the signs of age in every crack and moss sprouting from its sides. Warnings about the weight limit were often ignored on feast days like this, and the crowd that pressed onto it was gigantic, a fervent mass that danced and prayed, blind to the imminent danger. Rakesh, pushing his small vending cart, felt the bridge shudder beneath his feet, an unusual swaying that sent a chill down his spine. He ignored the sensation, attributing it to the sheer weight of the people. But the creaking of the stone and the sudden shifting of the floor slabs began to tell a different story. Within seconds, a shrill scream pierced the air, not of joy, but of sheer terror, and the unthinkable happened. The ground beneath the feet of thousands of people gave way with a terrifying crash, engulfing the crowd and the chaos in a whirlpool of water, stone, and despair. Rakesh didn't have time to process what was happening. The solid ground beneath him crumbled, and he was thrown into the damp darkness with brutal force, his body colliding with others in the dizzying fall. The cold, dirty water of the Yamuna swallowed him, and panic gripped him like a starving creature. He struggled against the fierce current, against the wreckage of the bridge, against the desperate bodies also fighting for their lives, grasping for anything to cling to breathe. The muffled screams of the people, the feeling of being pulled deeper, the growing darkness, everything pointed to an inevitable end. It was in that moment of absolute despair, with the life draining from his lungs, that an impossible, inexplicable stillness invaded him. Amidst the deafening chaos and deadly turmoil, he felt a sudden, unreal peace, as if invisible, delicate hands were holding him above the turbulent waters, preventing the current from sweeping him away. He opened his eyes in the water and, through the turbidity, swore he saw a soft, warm light, an ethereal, almost maternal figure that seemed to hover above him and the others, radiating a profound calm, offering a safe haven amidst the aquatic pandemonium. As the current continued to carry him, just a few meters from Rakesh, he witnessed scenes that defied all logic. A mother, who clearly couldn't swim, floated peacefully with her baby in her arms, a serene expression on her face, as if lying in a bed. Elderly people, frail with age, who seemed to have plunged headfirst, emerged, some even sitting on small pieces of debris that had previously seemed too small to support the weight of a child. Rakesh, who moments before had doubted any higher power, felt the cold hand of disbelief slowly being replaced by a warm, frightening sense that something sacred was happening. He suddenly remembered his grandmother's small voice, which had taken him to church as a child, teaching him about the Heavenly Mother, about miracles. In that moment, at the epicenter of the tragedy, with his life hanging by a thread, he understood the weight of his own ignorance and the arrogance of his disbelief. He felt a deep regret for having rejected the comfort of faith for so many years, yearning fervently for a chance to change and acknowledge that which was beyond his rational understanding. Rescue teams, shocked by the scale of the catastrophe, began to arrive, but what they found defied all expectations for a tragedy of such magnitude. Hundreds of people were rescued, many with minor injuries, and the death toll was incredibly lower than expected for an accident involving such a treacherous river and a bridge that claimed so many lives. The accounts were consistent and impressive. Many of the survivors, especially those who considered themselves more devout, claimed to have felt a protective presence, an unshakable peace, or even to have seen a luminous figure that guided them to the surface or held them above the current. When Rakesh was finally pulled to shore, exhausted and trembling, but miraculously unharmed, he saw in the eyes of those who had fallen into the river the same spark, the same silent understanding that something inexplicable, something divine, had occurred there. The prayers he heard muffled in the water were not cries of despair, but pleas of faith, transformed into thanksgiving on the riverbank, leaving an indelible mark on Rakesh's once skeptical soul. The event at the Yamuna River was not just a disaster for Rakesh. It was a watershed moment, the starting point of a profound and irreversible conversion. That day, instead of taking his life, gave him a new one he could never have imagined. The former Rakesh, skeptical and driven only by material gain, died in the murky waters of the Yamuna. In his place emerged a transformed man, whose heart now overflowed with gratitude and faith. He abandoned his former livelihood, which was sometimes dishonest, and dedicated himself to helping needy communities, especially those he had exploited in his previous life. His story, that of a miracle experienced by a non-believer, became his greatest treasure, told not as a fact to be proven, but as a vivid testimony to Our Lady's intervention, a reminder of the love and divine protection that can emerge even in the darkest and most desperate moments of human existence. He found in prayer, in helping others, and in the pursuit of spirituality a purpose far greater than he ever imagined, living each day as an offering of his repentance and his newfound unshakable faith. Rakesh became a pilgrim of faith, not seeking a temple, but on every street corner, in every shared smile and every outstretched hand. He visited the wounded in hospitals, not to sell them anything, but to share his story, to inspire hope, and to ensure that the miracle he had witnessed would not be forgotten. His voice, once used for bargaining, now intoned prayers and told of the light that found him at the bottom of the river, testifying to the resilience of the human spirit and the undeniable grace that accompanied so many that day. His conversion was complete, manifested not only in words but in every act of love and service, and the peace that once seemed distant in his life now filled every corner of his being, proving that faith and kindness are the most precious of treasures, capable of rescuing souls even from the depths of chaos, just as Our Lady rescued him from the impetuous waters of the Yamuna. Life, my friends, like that bridge in Bombay, can surprise us with its own unexpected collapses, with moments that seem to drag us to the bottom of rivers of trouble and hopelessness. But Rakesh's story and the miracle on the Yamuna teach us that, even in the greatest adversity, daily prayer, unwavering faith, and openness to forgive and ask for forgiveness can be Our Lady's hand holding us. How often do we let lack of faith or resentment drag us down? Prayer, like an invisible anchor, can bring peace to the heart, foster profound conversions, and kindle the light of hope amidst our personal storms. Just as Rakesh found his faith in the midst of tragedy, we can find strength and guidance in our daily lives. Reinforcing our request, I invite you once again, write in the comments the names of the people you carry in your heart who need prayer at this time, so that together we can strengthen the chain of faith and include them in our main prayer with the Rosary, asking for divine intercession in their lives. What did you think of this story that blends faith, tragedy, and a miracle in such a unique and inspiring way? Share your impressions and thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement is very important to us. If this video touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories that remind us of God's constant presence in our lives. Until next time.